I don't know about you, but I'm living on top of the world.
Everyone, my name is Donna and I'm here to provide my review of Greenleaf, Season 1, Episode 1, A Time to Heal. So this is the first episode of the series, and it takes us into the unscrupulous world of an affluential African-American family that presides over Calvary Fellowship World Ministries. It's a megachurch in Memphis, Tennessee. They have approximately 4,000 parishioners, and they're mostly African American. Now, while we are learning about the Greenleafs and their ministry, it's really about the journey of Grace Greenleaf. So before I go any further, let's go over the family tree briefly. We have the patriarch of the family, Bishop James Greenleaf, who's married to Lady Mae Greenleaf. Together they have 4 children, and that's Grace, Jacob, Faith, and Charity. They also have some in-laws. Jacob is married to Carissa, and Carissa and Jacob have 2 children. A teenager by the name of Zora, and then they have a toddler that they affectionately call Little Man. Then Charity is actually married to Kevin. It's Kevin Satterley. So Charity is actually Charity Greenleaf Satterley. But they have no children, at least not yet. And we have Grace, who has a daughter, Sophia. Now, Lady Mae has 2 siblings, Robert McCready, and I call him Creepy McCready, and that will be evident in a moment. And then Mavis McCready. Okay, that's the family tree. Here's the backstory. Over 20 years ago, Faith told Grace that for several years her Uncle Mac has been sexually molesting her repeatedly. Grace tells their parents. The parents confront Faith, and Faith lies and says she lied, and she recants her story. This causes the family to be fractured. So then Grace, who was a prominent preacher, vacates her calling to pursue a career in journalism. Faith, she, a preacher in her own right, preaching the youth church, leaves the church and leaves the mansion. She goes off into the world. The rest of the family is left behind to build up the Greenleaf dynasty. So fast forward to current times. Grace and Sophia are traveling to come to the Greenleaf mansion after hearing of the untimely and mysterious death of Faith Greenleaf. They say it's a suicide, but between you and me, I think it was a murder, honey. So anyway, she's coming to pay her last respects for a 2-day visit. And not everybody's happy that Grace is arriving. I mean, the mere thought of her presence is unnerving people. You see Charity unnerved. You see Mama unnerved. We know that Creepy McCready is unnerved. And the only one that's really happy that she's returning is her father, who dubs her the prodigal daughter. Okay, so they have this sad funeral for Faith. It's sad not because it was this great homecoming service and a bunch of tears. It was sad because it didn't seem like anybody else knew about it. It was like this private interment with very little flowers, no fanfare, and that's so uncharacteristic in the black church, especially for a bishop and the fact that he's mourning the loss of one of his children. You would think that would be some mention of that, but I digress. Anyway, it's after the funeral and around the dinner table that a lot of stuff happens, honey. So when the teenagers Zora and Sophia leave the table, we learn that Zora has a Ritalin sniffing habit that she's all too ready to share with her cousin that she's known for 2 seconds, Sophia. Now, she claims she's sniffing Ritalin because she has these performance anxieties as a result of attending Excellence Academy, where her mother Carissa is the headmistress and or school principal. And I can get why the child is stressed out, because Carissa is very commanding and demanding and controlling. Carissa, we find out, is a Lady Mae wannabe, and Grace's presence unnerves her because she's heard of her prominent preaching ability and how she demanded crowds. And she feels that she's a threat to Jacob being the next successor over Calvary Fellowship World Ministries. So she does everything she can to discredit Grace at the table, and especially when she finds out that Grace went from being a prominent preacher to a holiday Christian, adapting worldly views that don't line up with doctrine. And then on top of that, she had Sophia out of wedlock. She's like a dog with a bone. A conversation went to an interrogation, and then Lady Mae has the nerve to jump in on it. Makes everybody around the table uncomfortable. And the men try to drop subtle hints that they would like to move on. But Lady Mae shuts that down and says, no, I want to hear this. I want to learn more. And eventually it comes to a weird end, but then that's where the youngest Charity decides that she wants to flex her adult muscles and prove that she's an adult and pitch a 12-part series on the seasons of marriage to her dad at the table. When it doesn't go over well, and she's scoffed at by her father, her uncle, and her mother, Grace tries to lend her assistance and offer support to Charity. But then Charity rebukes it and tells her to stay off her team. She doesn't need her help. But then when the bishop offers Charity's current roles and responsibilities to Grace, she has a temper tantrum. She goes off. It is like, whoa, explosive. And then she winds up leaving the table abruptly. So she goes off. Kevin follows her to make sure that she's okay. And then that leads to an argument between Lady Mae and Grace, bringing the elephant in the room full front and center, because they breached the subject of Robert raping Faith. Lady Mae shuts it down, giving the rules of engagements of her home, and she leaves. Bishop demands that Grace shows up in church the next day, and he leaves, and everyone goes off into their separate corners and separate ways. Grace later on reconnects with her aunt, Mavis, who owns a bar on Beale Street. And it is evident that Mavis is the other black sheep and doesn't interact at all with the Greenleafs. They recount past history of how Grace first met Mavis. And it wasn't at a church fish fry, nor was it at any holiday or family event. It's the fact that Grace overheard her mother talking about her devil spawn of a sister that was the purveyor of the devil's drink and music that had a blues bar on Beale Street. And out of curiosity, Grace sought out her aunt. Well, after the stroll down memory lane, Mavis reveals some devastating news to Grace. She learns that her uncle, Creepy McCready, has been coming up over the years in different reports about underage teenagers and sexual molestation that never manifested into anything. Except there's one girl who filed an official police report, even though she recanted her story 3 days later. So Mavis charges, "You're the only one that can stop him. This is your second chance, don't blow it." A lot of pressure to put on someone, especially after 20 years, to not see him, right? Anyway, Grace goes to church with the rest of the family, and she seems truly moved by her father's sermon. And when altar call comes, she responds to the altar call with tears flowing from her eyes. Her father sees her, and he's coming to meet her, and they come to the altar together. And he is so excited for his wayward daughter to return and come back to the fold. And he holds her and he says, "Let us pray." But the moment is interrupted by Creepy McCready. And he pulls the bishop away to take him over to the other side of the altar, where there are a couple that had hit the Powerball. And they were giving the church $50,000. In that moment, Grace and Robert look at each other. And let me describe how they were looking at each other. You ever see two boxers in the ring as the referee is going over the rules of the fight? And you know how they're like, just staring each other down, gritting on them real hard, like they're having this nonverbal conversation, and they're basically telling each other, "You're going down." That's how it was. The next scene is Grace contacting her aunt after church. And Mavis says, "How was church?" And Grace says, "Church was church, but listen, can you give me the information on the complainant?" And Mavis says, "I'll do what I can, but promise me one thing. You won't leave like you did last time." And Grace promises, and that's how it ends. Oh, I need so much more. I need to know so much more. I need the true story of what went down. I'm actually Team Grace right now, because how are you going to have this man at the table after Face made the accusation? I don't care if she then recanted and said she lied. Obviously, something wasn't right. And what did they do to get to the bottom of it? What did they get the cops involved? What happened? And why is this still an issue? It obviously wasn't handled properly, because everybody wouldn't be so upset. And why does Grace unnerve everybody? I mean, I understand Carissa is ambitious and what have you. I mean, Jacob, I don't think he cares at this point. He's too busy worried about his side piece, because he was texting at the table. And so he's not even concerned about that at this point. That's all on Carissa right now. But then you have Charity, and she's so bitter. Did she get mad because Grace left? Or did she get mad because she feels like everything is Grace's fault for the family dynamic being the way it is? Was she even old enough to know what happened when this went down, since she is the youngest? Is it the fact that the bishop daunts on her so, the prodigal daughter, prominent preacher, always hearing the stories of how phenomenal her ministry is? Is she just envious of that? There's a lot of questions. And why is Mavis such on the outside of the Greenleaf family? I mean, and why is Mavis putting all this pressure on? Is she trying to plan some revenge, and Grace is being used as a pawn in her revenge? I mean, there's a lot that needs to be answered for me. I don't know. Listen, this is what I need for you to do. You have any theories of your own, or if you are with me on this, please give me some comments. You can give me a thumb up for my review, give me a thumb down, but I have to say, I've watched the first couple episodes, and I will do the other review in a separate video of the second episode. But this gives me everything that I am looking for. I am into it. I'm into it, and this is the first time I've ever vlogged. I usually do blogs, and all my information will be below, so you can hit me up on any of the social media sites or my website. But engage me. I want to hear what you have to say about all of this. This is truly interesting to me, and especially hitting all the hot topics for the church. Oh my goodness, I'm into this. I just want to say before I end this, I have a lot of friends that are in the ministry, especially, you know, pastors and bishops and things like that. For those that are conflicted by this show, some feel conflicted because they feel like it's sending the wrong message to the unsaved, unchurched, and backslidden. Let me tell you something. This show is a drama series. It's not a Christian program. And it's not, this show is not in itself going to cause someone that may be on the fence to make the decision not to go to church. Because if they're looking for a reason not to go to church or not to be part of organized religion, they don't need the show to do it. You know, your faith and what you believe is going to allow you to make whatever decision you need to make for you. As evangelists, as witnesses, all we can do is share the love of God and allow God's light to shine through us. And if we don't worry about going to church, having church, and just be the church, shows like this are not going to have any impact, or negative impact rather, on the unchurched, unsaved, or backslidden. I'm just saying, don't be conflicted. Enjoy the show. Anyway, I'm off my soapbox for now. I will be back with the second review for episode 2, the baptism. So hopefully you liked. Again, please give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Tell me what you think. Engage me. I will respond to your comments. All right. Until my next video. Bye.